Hello everyone, it's your boy Rainbow. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another podcast episode. I'm your host Rainbow, and today we'll be talking about a story time. But before we begin, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you guys are enjoying these podcast episodes, Roblox videos, and if you guys would like more story times like this one. This video will not focus on the manifestation aspect since I've already covered manifestation techniques, manifestation basics, and all that yada yada stuff, alright? If you want to check that out, pause this video and check the links in my description or the links that will appear at the top right corner. One is going to talk about the law of assumption, and the other is going to talk about multiple manifestation techniques. So make sure to go check those out if you're interested. However, if you just want to stick around for the story time, here we are. So buckle up your seatbelts, enjoy some popcorn, enjoy some snacks, and grab your water because we all gotta stay hydrated, alright? So, story time. We need to go back to my middle school self. Back when my small, innocent being little self was not introduced to the harsh realities of the world, who believed that life was all sunshine and rainbows, and that if you were an obedient, small little being, you could get anything you wanted. However, life isn't like that, but let's just pretend we don't know the harsh realities of the world when we're in middle school. So this was the end of the year in 7th grade, and I was pretty much depressed. Still am, but it was way worse back then. But I remember, let's call this friend Ali. Ali introduced me to this thing called Hamilton. I remember I was in the cafeteria, and she was about to throw away her trash when all of a sudden I was heading out of the cafeteria after the lunch break was over, and she was like, you should listen to Hamilton. And I remember I was like, this girl's crazy. I'm somebody, and I'm really guilty of this. Now I do better. Like, if someone recommends me something, I actually watch it. I actually listen to it. But back then, when someone recommended me something, I was like, oh yeah, cool. And I pretend like I'm actually going to listen and watch it. But I never did. Alright? So that was kind of just like me back then. Now I do a better job because I understand that people have different tastes, and who knows, maybe I'll end up liking it, So that's exactly what I did. So, as I said, the school year ended and I was crying because it was summer and everything felt different. Summer had officially started, but I had no friends to talk to. I had no one to vibe with, So, all of a sudden, Ali's thought of like, hey, you should listen to Hamilton came up. And so I had never heard of Hamilton, but I've heard of this name called Lin-Manuel Miranda because of a pride speech he gave at either the Oscars or the Grammys. I can't remember, but I've heard of him. I just never heard of Hamilton. And so that thought was reminiscing in my mind. I remember I had this red binder and I was doodling it with a pencil. And I grabbed my dad's overcharged phone. It was this tiny little phone. And I remember going to YouTube and typing Hamilton. And the Hamilton soundtrack appeared. And it changed my life forever. And ever since then, I became a Hamilton devoted fan. However, in recent years, ever since I, graduated from high school, I kind of stopped listening to it, and I kind of stopped getting so obsessed over it. I never thought that they would come. I thought I was going to be a very Hamilton loyal fan since the day I died, but I guess not, But that's not to say that I cannot respect Lin-Manuel Miranda's artistic work. Anyway, I got off track there. So yeah, ever since that day, I became very devoted and obsessed, weirdly obsessed with 200-year-old men interpreted by very attractive men and somehow obsessed over a 200-year-old dead man who just so happened to also be a cheating husband and the face of the $10 bill and have problematic characters. Somehow I was obsessed with all of that. My young, small, innocent, little being self. Anyway, but because of that obsession, I believe that when you are obsessed with something, you give it energy. there's this exchange of energy when you put so much energy into something. It's like when haters hate. Haters actually are obsessed with you because they put so much energy into you, but it's negative. You know what I mean? It's sort of the same thing I had with Hamilton, except it was more of like an obsession of a good thing. I was putting more energy into listening songs, embodying the personalities of Hamilton characters. I even did like a Hamilton role play. And there was this one time where I participated in a Harry Potter Hamilton roleplay crossover, which is the reason why my nickname is Rainbow, but that's another story time for another day. Another person I need to introduce into this story is, how do I introduce this person? Let's call them Thomas. So Thomas and I were really close in high school. They were my bestie. They were my best friend. They were from the UK, from the British, okay? The Britann, alright? So anywho, because Thomas was so obsessed, well, I wouldn't say obsessed, but because they were into British royalty, British culture, they introduced me to a lot of shows and a lot of things called Queen Victoria and even Doctor Who. And I am going to admit, I am someone that is not a big fan of science fiction, but man, in recent years, I have been falling in love with it. So, yeah, thank you, Thomas, for introducing me to the very first piece of science fiction out there, Doctor Who. Anywho, it's a masterpiece, and then they introduced me to Sherlock. But most importantly, they also introduced and supported my Hamilton obsession. Okay, they were hyping me up, and they were so excited that they, you know, had someone who they could relate to. And they even introduced me to other musicals like Dear Evan Hansen. Thomas actually gave me a book as a gift of Dear Evan Hansen, as well as a bracelet from Hamilton and a couple of different Hamilton playbills. Um, it was just amazing. So, Thomas, you know who you are if you are seeing this video, okay? I still have your gifts, by the way, even though it's been a long time. It's been almost 8 years now since I have received those gifts. So thank you so much. I still have them and I still cherish them. Anywho, the reason why Thomas and Ally, oh, I don't know why I named. Okay, you know what? We're gonna go with Ally. Anyway, so Thomas and Ally are essential to the story because they both got me into Hamilton and got me into this obsession. And I don't want to get too much into this, but this weird obsession with my younger self being obsessed with Hamilton, the only reason why I was so obsessed with it is because I related so much to Hamilton's hunger and ambition. I am a child of immigrant parents and I know the struggle. I know the struggle of not being good enough, of being a failure. So I understood those characters. I also understood Aaron Burr. Aaron Burr to me was someone who was often never understood, overlooked, overshadowed, always put like off the spotlight, even though he wanted to have a bit of that spotlight for himself as well. But Hamilton always came over and stole his spotlight, you know, or like other characters as well that I related to, like John Lawrence, his fight for ending slavery and establishing justice resonated with my young soul of activism. He inspired me to take activism a step further because I always wanted justice to prevail. However, this was before I recognized how dirty politics was and how corrupted our society has become, right? But, I related to those characters when I was younger because I wanted to be an inspiration and a change in the world. And it's because of my weird obsession with Hamilton as well, is how I grew over the years. Before Hamilton, I was very meek, I was very shy, I was very quiet. And as time went on, I began to develop a confidence I never knew. I began to develop that spark that Hamilton would talk about. I developed that fire within me that was burning to do something good in the world, to do change in this world, to make my parents proud, to make the world proud. And so the only reason why I'm telling you guys this is because confidence and energy is key to manifestation as well. Yes, believing in yourself is key, but I was also grateful, and it is essential that I had friends like Thomas and Ally who supported me throughout my quote unquote Hamilton journey, because I was discovering myself through these Hamilton characters. And I was devoting so much energy into it, so much energy into developing my own self through the lenses of Hamilton. So Hamilton really changed my perspective in how I saw life and in myself, in discovering my authenticity and my confidence and my spark. So now that we got that out of the way, now let's actually get into the Hamilton story time and how I manifested seeing Hamilton and getting tickets. So fast forward to, I believe this is ninth grade. This is the beginning of high school, and it was my very first transition to, high school. Middle school to high school is a big difference, and it's when you tend to mature a little bit. You tend to change a little bit on how you see the world. And so I don't know where I heard this from or how it came to be. I don't know if it was my mom or someone on the internet. I can't remember. My memory's quite foggy. But what I would hear is that if you make a wish at 11:11, that wish would come true. And every single day, I kid you not, ever since I learned that you could watch Hamilton live, I would make a wish at 11:11 saying, I wish to see Hamilton live. I wish to see Lin-Manuel Miranda performing on stage. So I would do that every single night. Or whenever during the day or during at night, I would always I wish to see Hamilton live at exactly 11:11. Sometimes I would even put an alarm just to make a wish. And I would close my eyes and be like, I wish to see Hamilton live. I wish to see Hamilton live. And every time, I think I did this unconsciously, but every time I did any drawings or anything devoted to Hamilton, as an act of devotion, if you will, it was sort of like I was unintentionally manifesting Hamilton to come to my city. So fast forward again to ninth grade. All of a sudden, my history teacher, shout out to Mr. D. I'm not going to say their full name because, first and foremost, that would be disrespectful and, a violation of privacy, but I still want to give a shout out. So shout out to Mr. D for doing this. So he was the history teacher for high schoolers for later on, and he's a very essential part of the story because he wanted to take his students to go see Hamilton live to learn about American history and the American Revolution. But then he said he had some extra tickets. And guess who got to go? Yes, sir, y'all are hearing it here first. Before that, there was a contest where you needed to fill out a packet or something like that. Like if you were interested in going to go see Hamilton, you could go. But before I get into that part, I need to put this part because I know it's like all over the place, but I forgot this part. When the announcement for the Hamilton tickets was made, I was currently going through a surgery and I was at a very low point in my life. Um, I'm not going to get into the details because that's quite personal, but I was going through a lot. I had surgeries, I had doctor's appointments, I missed out on school, I missed out on a state exam, so I was pretty stressed out. And on top of that, I missed out on lots of assignments. And I was somebody who hated going to the doctor, not because of the medical exams, but because I missed out on homework and I was always behind my peers and I hated being behind. And it was sometimes quite impossible to catch up at times. So, yeah, it was a really low point for me at that time. But let's go back to the positive thing. So I came back to school and I was told my other history teacher, Mr. A, we'll call him Mr. A for short. Mr. A was so excited when he heard the announcement because he knew that I loved Hamilton. He and I bonded over that because he and I were history buffs. Because I loved history, still do to this day. But he was also a very big supporter of my love for Hamilton and the whole theater and the whole history thing. And he was so happy to hear that Hamilton tickets were available. and he was about to tell me the news, but he never got to because he was busy with some important meetings. But yeah, he told me he was about to tell me, but he couldn't. And so I didn't know any of this was going on because I had just gotten back from my surgery, and I was told I could retake the state exam, and I was like I am gonna I'm gonna have to take it because this is the last chance I got to take the state exam. And so I was like, okay, I need to do it. And so I was just spending all day taking this exam that I missed. And then so at my school we have these like school assemblies. I don't know if you guys have them at your schools, but there was a school assembly for like some speakers. I'm not sure what they were talking about. But I heard the news about Hamilton from my principal. Shout out to my principal. Um, she was like, "Hey, is anybody interested in going to go see Hamilton? Hamilton is going to happen on a school day." And I was like, "Ah, shoot." And I was like, "My parents can't take me. There's no way. There's no way I could go even if I wanted to, because my parents, they work and everyone's so busy, and like I don't know how to drive anyway." So my principal says this, and I'm like, ugh, I'm never going to go see Hamilton again. Because I was like, I'm not going to miss another school day. I already missed so many school days because of this surgery, because of doctor's appointments. Like, this is like insane, you know? And there's this stupid policy. Like, I don't understand why schools do this, especially to people that are disabled and people that have actual medical conditions. But why do school districts and schools have this system where students cannot miss a certain amount of days? And if you miss a certain amount of days, then you get fined or you get sent to court. I'm like, what if you have an actual medical condition? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Anywho, so I was told by this principal, I was like, I cannot miss a school day. You know what I mean? There's no way I can make it to Hamilton. No one's gonna take me. Yada yada yada. Then my principal sees my reaction and she pulls me aside. She was like, "Come over here. Rainbow, come over here. We need to talk." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in trouble. Like, what did I do?" And whenever the principal calls you, you feel like it's the end of the world. But then she pulled me aside and she was like, "Listen, I know how much you love Hamilton. We all support you. Your teachers support you. You have the support of your English teacher, your history teacher, all these other teachers that were supporting me." And she was like, "We want you to go. I even reserved one of the extra tickets for you, but don't tell anybody." The face I made when I heard that. My face was still quite disappointed though, because I was like, well, who's gonna take me? You know what I mean? Like, how are we gonna get there? Then it turns out that one of the staff members from my school was actually gonna chaperone us, meaning like someone was actually gonna take us on their car. And I remember, I will never forget this moment. We were all so scrunched up because it was a really small car, and there were like, what, 5 or 6 people trying to fit in the back seat. Someone was even sitting on someone else's lap, or trying like to hold on to the car seat in order to fit. And we were all just like scrunched up trying to get there to the actual place. And so we got there eventually. And actually, no, this was after the show. Now that I'm thinking about it, no, because I remember like we went there to the actual place, walking distance, but to get back to the school, we had to take the cars because some roads were blocked off because of how much traffic there was because of the Hamilton show. So yeah, that incident happened after. I'm so sorry. Anyways, after we arrived at the place was surreal. Y'all, it was so fancy, and we got to see Hamilton merch. There was these Hamilton water, what are those things called? The water flasks or the water Stanley cups? I'm not sure what they're called. Hydro flasks, I think. Anywho, the merchandise, y'all. I know that Hamilton is a really big production, and I have really high respect for theaters, but my broke butt, $50, $100 for merch. That was too much. That was too much. What else was there? I think there was like bags too, and some people actually got to buy those. And me, small little innocent broke being me could not afford any of that rich people stuff. So yeah, never got the chance to buy my own Hamilton merchandise. But shout out to Thomas for getting me those Hamilton gifts though. That's why I really cherish them because they are really valuable and sentimental to me. Anywho, so we passed by the merchandise, and there's like this hall where we go through the theater and whatnot, and we all have like assigned seats. I've never been to a theater. This is like the very first time like we've been at a theater. This is the very first time I've been in any theater. I've seen it in movies, I've seen it in shows, never been to it in actual life. This was my very first time. And so I sat next to, my homies, and we were having a fun time. And yeah, we actually got to sit in the balcony, which is the best seat. Like we got to see some parts of the audience and the whole entire show. And it was the best view. We got the best view. Like it was amazing, And the cast members for the Hamilton show weren't the original ones. However, a lot of the background dancers that are part of the original cast as well were there too. So it was really nice to see a lot of the original background dancers, seeing them like bring this musical to life. I think like a lot of people pay attention to the main characters a lot, but they never give respect or appreciation to the background dancers or the people, the extras, if you will, because they're the reason why musicals come to life. Sure, the main character has a really big important role delivering their part of the story, but also the background dancers. They're the reason why everything comes to life and why people get so immersed into the story or the musical in the first place. So amazing. Very unforgettable experience, 10 out of 10. If you guys are wondering how the Hamilton show is, bring tissues. That's all I'm gonna say. Because I was screaming, I was crying. I was like, most of the time though, I was like, is this a dream? Is this actually real? I had to pinch myself to actually believe that I was actually in the theater. Like, that's how surreal it was. I remember one of my friends who was sitting like across from me, she had a whole bag of Cheetos and she was like chomping on them. She was like, imagine like the whole theater goes silent and then I'm just munching on chips and then someone goes on the microphone and is like, who's making that noise? And I was just laughing because it was just so funny. And yeah, I don't know, it was just a really how do I say, fun, memorable experience. 10 out of 10. I recommend if you guys are looking for seating options, balcony is the best spot because that's the only spot I've ever sat on. Okay? But the reason I tell this story, and I know I said no, I wasn't going to focus so much on the manifestation aspect, but I think it is important to highlight that just a little bit, at least in this story time. The reason why this wish came true was because of believing in myself and putting so much energy. They say that whatever energy you put out in the universe, that energy will come back to you. I feel like I did good karma or good deeds somehow because, I did well in school. I did my homework. I was responsible. I treated people nicely because, that's what a decent human being does. Unlike, how the internet has turned out quite ridiculous, if I say so myself. However, I always believe that whatever you put out in the universe, it always comes back to you tenfold. So be careful with the energy you put out. At the end of the day, manifestations or anything you desire are just energy. The more you put into it, the more you attract it, the more you receive it, and the more it will pay attention to you, especially if it's a person, right? So, yeah, it's important to realize that when you're manifesting. Also, another thing I did was, I guess you could consider this a placebo effect, which is believing that wishing upon an 11:11 time would make your wishes come true, and I would do that almost every single day religiously, day and night. So yeah, because of my constant devotion, because of my constant uh, putting energy into the thing that I wanted, the more it attracted into my reality. But I also didn't let that obsession stop me from doing my duty, which is being a student, being a daughter. doing my work, right? Obviously I was listening to Hamilton soundtracks as I worked in the background, or my brain will replay certain songs. But overall, I put in the energy and necessary into the desires that I wanted and received that in return. So it's the same thing I'm trying to tell you guys is if you really want something, then put in the work, put in the energy, whether that is believing in yourself, being more confident in yourself, being more authentic, and surround yourself with positive people, because that's also another thing is the more energy you put out into the world or into the universe, that universe will gift you tenfold, right? And I believe that because I treated people so nicely and cared about people, those same people that I cared about supported me at a time when I needed them the most, right? So this manifestation, like wanting to go see Hamilton, was something I've always dreamed of. It's like the equivalent of Disneyland to a kid, right? And because I put out so much love into the world, that love came back to me tenfold through the support of my teachers, of faculty members, of my parents, even, who were so happy to see me, finally see this Hamilton live the thing, and I think it's also important to apply those same concepts to your manifestation. First, surround yourself with uplifting, positive, encouraging, loving people. Do not invite negative people. And if you do have negative people or toxic people in your life that you can't physically cut off, do not let them discourage you or get into your energy or into your head. Always believe in yourself, even if the world is against you, because I'm here to tell you that your imagination is your reality. I always imagined myself meeting Lin-Manuel Miranda in person. I always imagined myself meeting the idols of Hamilton that I looked up to as a kid, seeing them live. And maybe I didn't meet them live at that time, but I did get to see Hamilton live, the theater performance, which is the main goal that I wanted in life. So, yeah, that's all I have for you. Hope you guys enjoyed this story time. I'm sorry this was very long, but I do want to quickly summarize and quickly tell you guys, believe in yourself, okay? You can achieve anything. Society will tell you otherwise. There will be people, haters, whatever, telling you, grow up and be realistic. But this story time, it represents the opposite, right? And I believe that your dreams can come true. They can become a reality. Even if it doesn't seem that way, it's just the thing is you need to believe in yourself and believe in yourself the most, even if no one is there to support you. Right? The Lulu is the Salulu, basically. Okay. Um, so yeah, just do that and you can attract anything you desire and want. At the end of the day, y'all, it's just energy. Whatever you put out into the world, you will receive that in return. So be careful of the energy you put out into the world, because it will test you when it comes to your desires. It will test you when the time comes for you to prove yourself. And yeah, that's all I have for you all. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to my story time. Make sure to go check out the other videos I mentioned on manifestation if you guys are interested. Make sure to like and subscribe again. And until next time, Rainbow out.